What's happening, everyone? Saturday morning. Welcome to Season Gaming Bitcast, episode 116. Dan, we are just one episode away from 117.
Yeah,
and you know it's gonna be a Halo blowout. We're doing 3 hours of just Halo next week.
Oh man,
sounds fun.
It's gonna be,
Exactly, it does.
It's gonna be you talking for 3 hours and me going, yeah, I agree.
All right. So back with my weekly partner in crime here, Dan, who's free to play this week. Is it just this week, or are you going permanent free to play?
It's permanently, man.
Okay.
On PC, on Xbox, on your phone, whatever you want to do. I'm free to play.
Love it.
That's been that way for years, actually.
And yet there's just, there's no one in line at the arcade. There's no quarters off, or you're just standing there waiting around.
You just can't see the quarters. They're there.
And joining us for the first time this week is Wandering Dutch. Welcome, sir.
Welcome. How are you doing?
Doing good. Looking forward to this one. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. We have another person who likes Gears and Halo on the panel, which is always good because got to counter. I think going forward, I'm just going to make sure that every guest loves Halo, so that way I can always outnumber Dan, and it can always be a tie.
I have to explain it every week. I don't not like Halo. I just don't play it.
Hey, we did this last week. There's no need to be upset. Calm down.
Yeah, we'll save that for later.
All right, I see Diego, I see Matt, I see Lucky Paul. What's up, guys? Walter, good to see you. Walter, who I keep forgetting is Elu's brother, by the way. I've been playing some Rocket League with him. So,
nice.
All right, let's get into it. So, Dutch, we like to, every time we have a new guest, we kind of go through gaming history, kind of what got you into gaming, favorite things, that type of stuff. So, if you don't mind, how did you get kind of started into video gaming? What kind of kicked it off for you?
A couple of things, to be honest. In video gaming specifically, I used to go around to my uncles when I was younger and play on the Super Nintendo and the SNES, NES, Sega Mega Drive, all them things. But my father was a very big tech head computer geek. So we had a very, very old gaming PC with the original GeForce cards. Everything built in like that. So nice. It's always flight sim and point and click adventures and you name it, everything was played. He used to come back because he worked in the airline industry. So he used to come back with boxes and boxes full of games to install and go back. So
did you play the old King's Quest and Space Quest and those games?
Everything, you name it. I was having this discussion the other week. Actually, I used to play. It was called Little Big Planet, I think it was called, or Little Big Adventures or something.
Little Big Planet was the PlayStation one.
Little Big Adventures, then it was.
Yeah.
I used to, obviously, things like that. It's still on Steam to this day, actually. I didn't think it would be there. It's that old. But it's everything you name it. I've had pretty much every console under the sun as well. Apart from I'm not old enough to have like all the cassette player consoles and things like that. I'm too young for that. But no. Everything. I've had the original Game Boy, trying to play that thing in the dark.
Oh yeah, get a flashlight and
street lights. Pretty much everything. So I've played them all: Game Boy, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch, the 2DS, Xbox One, Xbox 360, the variants of 360. Yeah, all the variants of one, from the big chunky thing to the S, the X. And custom versions that I've got. PlayStation 1, 2, missed 3, straight onto 4 and 4 Pro. So yeah, pretty much anything and everything.
Yeah, you didn't miss a whole lot with PlayStation 3. It wasn't a good effort from them.
So I've heard.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic we can get to. I was actually talking to Carl about that last week, just the architecture of that system and it being kind of a mess. That was Sony at their most arrogant. They basically said PlayStation 2 dominated. We can do whatever we want, and the market said, no, you can't.
Yeah, it was like 600 at release or something, wasn't it? It was something stupid.
Yep, and it didn't have all the major games. Like, people forget that Mass Effect didn't launch on PlayStation 3. BioShock didn't launch on PlayStation 3. Skyrim was broken. A lot of the major games from that generation just didn't work right on PlayStation 3 because the architecture was a nightmare for developers. So but yeah, it's a crazy conversation. But well, cool, man. So if you had to pick a favorite platform, and it can be PC or a console, what's like your favorite thing of all time?
Console, it's just Xbox in general. Mainly, it's just the full infrastructure of Xbox, I think. Again, I've started on actually console gaming, official console gaming, started on PlayStation. Went on to PlayStation 2, but then Xbox 360. That's when it really hit home, and and it's more nostalgia for me now because it's so many fun times with like Gears Online and Halo Online and co-op and you name it. It was the co-op experience, really having like stupid fun, even on 2v2 rank matches on Gears, but with 4 friends. So we used to just like rip each other. Like as soon as the round had finished, it would be like just taking the mick out of each other and just it was just fun. But then it's just built up. Like friends list is built up over time, and game catalogs built up over time. And now with the way that they've built it, so that you literally lose next to nothing from your history of Xbox, it becomes so much more of a platform going forward. It's much easier. People talk about backwards compatibility, but really, if you're an actual gamer, you do want to jump into old games from time to time and just play them again. So
I'm playing Halo CE again as we speak.
Yeah, I was playing Master Chief Collection yesterday as well, going through Reach. Reach again.
Awesome. Yep. Cool. And then I know, big Halo head, big Gears head, but you like some other stuff as well. If you had to pick a favorite series, what would it be?
It's always the Final Fantasy series for me.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, Final Fantasy. I've played them all. I've had, even though, and this is kills me to this day, I had all of them on original release, all CDs, all of the covers. I've still got all of the boxing and everything for all of them from start to finish. But I had a CD folder that kept all of my PlayStation CDs in. That's went missing.
Wow.
All of the Final Fantasies from 1 to 9 have disappeared.
Oh, man.
That kills. I've still got the CD cases for all of them, but none of them have got CDs.
How does that happen? That's terrible.
It's through moving at some point. It's just vanished, and it kills us. Because if you have a look at the cost of each of them, if you try to find them these days, like the cost of Final Fantasy 7 by itself on original, it's like 90 to 100 by itself.
Yep. Yeah, I've got that one. I've got Tactics. Tactics used to be worth a ton until they did the whole greatest hits and remastered it. Yeah. There's a few others I have too, but yeah, I got rid of most of mine. It's always sad when you think back to.
Whoa!
Oh, he's muted. You muted yourself.
You muted yourself. There's no mic.
So that's twice now. I've touched the cord on my mic and it's so sensitive that it screws up. Okay, I won't do that anymore. All right, so what?
What is your problem?
I don't know. I blame the mic. I'm gonna go with blaming the mic. Why not?
Well, what's your favorite Final Fantasy then, Dutch?
Ooh, good question.
Ooh, now this is it's always usually between 3 of them. Everyone goes for either 6, 7, or 9.
Yep.
My favorite has to be 9. I think
nice. Good man.
Story for that is always captured me a bit more. I've got more fonder memories. Even though 7 was brilliant, 9 stuck with us more. I remember just getting in. I was still in school at this point. Getting in from school, the first thing I'd do is run upstairs on my shite little TV with built-in cassette player. Putting on Final Fantasy 9 and playing it for hours and hours and hours. I just remember that game so fondly. So yeah, 9 all day, every day.
That's awesome. Yeah, I was waiting for you to say 7, and then I was gonna have to go on a rant, but we avoided it luckily.
On that note as well, 7 remake hasn't clicked with us.
Oh really? Didn't enjoy it?
It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just this. Obviously, they've changed up the story elements, and the fact that it's in chapters and in episodes and things like that doesn't. Of course, I'll have to get used to that. But overall, it just isn't. It isn't hitting the same strings as the original has.
Interesting, because I know Dan, you really enjoyed it, didn't you?
I did. It was more like in the vein of like 15 for me, because of the gameplay aspects, really.
See, I love 15, but 7, I don't know, something.
it's a lot tighter too. It's not, it's mostly corridors. It's not.
Yeah.
So and plus you've got that nostalgia factor where you're so fond of 7 as it came out originally that it's if you mess with some greatness it's tough, man.
It's tough. Sure. It is. There's a few niggly bits on it that are getting on my nerves, and audio is one of the worst parts about it for me. I don't know whether or not anybody plays games statistically with headphones on, but when you've got the headphones on, it's more noticeable. But when you're walking around when you've got a party full of characters behind you, and you're walking around any location, depending on where that character is, depends on how much you can hear them. And if they get really close to the camera behind you, they start shouting at you. But if they're miles in the distance, you can barely hear them, and it depends on how quickly you go. So you miss half the stuff that they talk about.
Yeah, that's true.
So audio-wise, it's just I'd rather be able to, regardless of where those characters are, just be able to hear them crystal clear and not have like a location deficit on them. That really bugs us.
There was a game I was playing recently, and I can't remember what it was now, but it's like you hear them if you're right next to them, right? But as soon as you get a little further away, it pops up a little side thing, so you can hear them the same volume at all times. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's how it should be. Yeah, that's how it should be. But honestly, it's so distracting because you're like walking around and you hear the conversation normally, and all of a sudden it goes really quiet, and you're like, "What? What was that?"
Yeah, So Final Fantasy, I would probably say 6 is my all-time favorite, but 9 is up there. And as you said, those are usually the ones that kind of are at the top of the conversation. But I'm one of those weird people who loves Final Fantasy but didn't really like 7, even when it first came out. So the remake I didn't play, but I know Dan played it, and Bert, who is on sometimes, he really liked it. So it seems popular, but yeah, you're messing with a classic. So I could see if you really adored the classic, it's kind of hard to relive that greatness, I guess.
But then even then, I really loved 15, and that was a big Marmite game. That was either you love it or you have.
No one's getting that reference in this audience.
No.
I got that. Jeez Louise. That's hilarious.
So it's a hit or miss. You can either love it or hate it.
Yeah, that's great.
I love that game. I love the open world aspect of the character building, side quests, everything that went with it. Really, the story, of course, you can tell it had been done over 10 years because it was so big and vast, and the story was so detailed at the start. You get in the final couple of chapters, and it's like corridor.
We gotta finish this.
Yep.
Interesting. What's up, guys? Good to see everyone, man. We got Native, Indy, Mariano, as always, Walt, man. Kadrian, good to see you as well. So what's up, guys? All right. Where we at? So real quick, and I know you give a shout out on this later, Dutch, but you just started your own podcast with a couple of guys from the community called the Midweek Mix Up. And if I've got this right, just for our audience, Dutch, it's Wednesdays, but it's 2 p.m. Central because you're obviously in the UK. Which I think is 8 p.m. your time?
It is, 8 p.m. UK.
Okay.
9 p.m. Central Europe and 3 p.m. Eastern, I do believe it is.
Yes. Yeah, that would be right. Yep. So that's cool, man. Congrats on launching that. Launching a podcast is always interesting. We always joke here that, we're on 116 now. I've been doing it for a few years, but our first couple episodes were just, you go back and look at them now, and we're just kind of, it's a mess. And I joke that we have an episode 0 that we never even published. It's just hidden on our YouTube channel. One of these years, maybe we'll release it.
Or react to it in the background.
Yeah. That's actually a good idea. Yeah, it was just Bert and I, and
as you can see, both of you just sitting like that
the whole time. Yeah. So that's cool though. Congrats on that. And how you enjoying it so far?
Good. Actually, I'm learning quite a lot just because I take part in a lot of different podcasts and things like that, in terms not just physically being there, but just watching a lot of podcasts and especially being in the background. So I'm picking up a lot of kind of tips and tricks from you all, things like video intros and overlays and how to kind of present things and questions and structure. So it's all learning, but I'm enjoying it so far. Like I say, there's quite a bit of topics to get through. I think one of the more difficult ones is once you've covered something, then it's thinking of different topics to go into for the next week, or depending on how many episodes you've got for each week, it depends on the topics and what things you might not want to rehash. Like, especially since last Thursday, I've been on that many different podcasts. It's it's all been very. What happened in the showcase? What are your thoughts on the showcase? What happened in the showcase? So it's like, right, okay, let's keep going. But Wilmy's just completely went off.
Yeah, they do that. They do that.
We had like 20 minutes of being serious, and then after that, the entire 2.5 hours after that, we barely covered anything.
Yeah, Dan and I were laughing because we're like, damn, it's got to be late for Dutch too, because they're a nighttime podcast, right?
It was like 3:30 in the morning when I got done.
Yeah, no,
I had to be up at 6 for work. So.
Oh my god. So that's cool though, but congrats. So everyone watching, if you haven't checked out Dutch's YouTube channel, I think Dan, you tweeted it out earlier, and I'll have it in the notes as well. So be sure to check that out. No worries. All right, let's get into it. The news here that Dan has been waiting for. It's crate time.
This is where I check out.
No, it's funny because we talked about Xbox Showcase last week with the Lords and stuff, and obviously Halo Infinite was a big part of that. So I didn't expect that we would come back this week with Halo Infinite kind of being the main topic, but because of the news that came out yesterday, it just kind of is. So here we are.
Yeah.
So the big news is Halo Infinite can confirm the multiplayer component is going free to play. They also confirmed other things that I have bullets on here that we'll touch on, but 120 FPS on Series X and obviously probably PC. There's a new Forge coming. It's going to build upon the Forge that they grew in Halo 5, which is already ridiculously impressive. Yeah. There's also a brand new Halo HCS coming. Dan, what's HCS?
I didn't even hear what you said.
Halo Championship Series, so new Pro League. Yeah. I know you're going to be tuning into that nightly.
What, esports?
Yeah.
Yeah, when the hell have we ever talked about esports on the show?
No, we don't. But
no,
I mean, it's Halo. Right? So new Halo Championship Series, and 343 also confirmed. If you weren't aware and don't follow this stuff like I do with 343 and Halo, they have an internal pro team. So they have pro Halo players that actually work at 343 and help tune the multiplayer. They host events. They compete. They do all this stuff. And they have also confirmed that they've developed a new pro team for Infinite and to help with, they've been working on multiplayer, but also going to lead the HCS into the future as well.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about, guys, the impact of free to play. And I know I tweeted out about this last night because this is a huge, huge deal. And I don't think people are giving it the credit, or maybe I'm making it out to be a bigger deal. I don't know. But I don't think people are giving it the credit that it deserves and really realizing the impact this could have on the market for Xbox as a publisher.
Yeah.
So open to kind of conversation here. But the first thing I kind of want to start on, right, is that if you think about all the major multiplayer games that are out right now that have tens of millions of players, whether it be Fortnite, whether it be Apex, Call of Duty Warzone went free to play, right? Separate from Call of Duty Modern Warfare. What's the other one? Overwatch went free to play. I mean, there's just a million examples. Even Rocket League is going free to play next month.
Oh, really?
This month now. Yeah, they're going free to play. So, I mean, all these games have found this foundation that works where it's free to play. Because you remove the barrier of entry, right? You just say, here, go play the game. And then you really drive home with a battle pass for revenue. You drive home with a battle pass customization.
Skins, yeah.
Yeah, skins, things of that nature, which people just eat up.
Yeah.
And so to separate, Halo's always been a package deal, right? Campaign is hugely important. Multiplayer is hugely important. And if you mess up either one of them, the Halo community's pissed off. Yeah. It's just a fact of nature. So the fact that they're taking multiplayer out and saying, even with Game Pass, you'll be able to play the whole package, right? But even if you don't have Game Pass, even if you don't have an Xbox, you'll now be able to play Halo multiplayer is a huge, huge thing forward. And it goes from opening up the community to, imagine if they were going like the PlayStation model where they said, okay, to play Halo Infinite multiplayer, you'd have to buy a Series X or Lockhart, whatever Series S turns out to be. You have to buy that console and you have to buy Halo, right?
Yeah.
Your user base potential in the first 6 months would be, 3 to 5 million tops?
Yeah.
That's if everyone bought the game and system. Here, on day one, your user base potential is hundreds of millions of people. Because you're on PC, you're on Steam, you're on Game Pass, you're on Xbox One, and you're on Xbox Series X. So it's an incredible move for me. I've already been speaking for a while, but I think just this is going to bring Halo back into the limelight in a way that we haven't seen probably since I'd say like Halo 3 MLG era, where it kind of like led the world in esports and viewership.
Yeah, you go ahead, Dutch.
Yeah, I mean, free, like you mentioned there, with all the different games that are free to play at the minute. There isn't really. I think it's a very, very smart move on their behalf. If you have a think of opposing platforms as well, there's nothing to compete with that on opposing platforms outside of the already free-to-play third-party games.
Correct. Yeah, nothing first party.
Nothing first party at all, or even comes close to first party. But then you've brought into the mix for the first time ever simultaneous release on PC and console for both online and single player. But the free-to-play aspect as well, whether or not it's going to be a separate download, which obviously it sounds like it's going to be a separate download from the whole campaign.
Yeah.
You say, it just opens up such potential for that in terms of tens of millions of new players. I think a few of the more, shall we say, seasoned, die-hard Halo Online players.
Good word.
Nice.
are very much are worried about playing with what they class as noobs and new players, because they worry it's going to kind of mess up the online scene. But end of the day, if you are as good as you say you are online, then that's just going to be target practice, isn't it? So
exactly, yeah. The ranking system should be hopefully will be deep enough and kind of I don't know the word I'm looking for, developed well enough, right, to separate those. Because the other thing with Halo is, as you likely know, Dutch, and guys listening who play a lot of multiplayer in Halo, it's a very deep and very challenging game, and the skill curve is very skill gap in Halo is huge. It's bigger than games like Call of Duty. It's just there's so many more variables to Halo, and so what I've always found is that when you try to get new people into Halo, because they get in and there's so many nuances they have to learn, and they can get smashed so easily by good players or kind of players who have done it a while, it kind of turns them off a little bit. And so I'm hoping that the free-to-play aspect, and they have some kind of entry-level skill ranking system for new players to kind of guide them into it more, because it is not just a run and gun, point and shoot fastest game, which Call of Duty kind of appeals to and some other games appeal to.
It's kind of a mixture between your run and gun, a little bit of Doom in terms of bouncing around like a madman. Again, you've got multiple variants of weaponry. You've got, again, depending on map size, you've got vehicles then as well. Whether or not it's short term, long term, whether or not there's so many, like you say, there's so many variables on online play in Halo. So many, and the learning curve is massive.
Yeah,
you will get absolutely wiped out especially the first few times you played it.
Yeah, one of the interesting things, I used to have this not debate, but I used to chat with some friends who are really into Call of Duty. And don't get me wrong, I like Call of Duty. I have hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of hours into various Call of Duties. But one of the things I always point out that people don't think about between a game like Call of Duty and Halo, right, is in Call of Duty, when you see an enemy across from you, it's point and shoot. No matter what gun you're holding, it's point and shoot. And it's really whoever aims fastest and pulls the trigger fastest that's going to win that battle 99% of the time. In Halo, there's a whole nother aspect of it, because you have the shield dynamics, which are very different, and the shields are impacted by weapons differently across, all the different weapons that Halo has. But you also have to analyze what weapon they're holding, because what you do next depends on what weapon they're holding. If they're holding a needler, the needles have an arc on them, right? So that if you move a certain way, you can make those needles miss. If they're holding a plasma pistol, that the green gun shot that's going to break your shield moves at a certain speed. And if you move the right way, you can avoid it. And it's a very, very deep multiplayer game that new players tend to struggle with. So it's going to be interesting to see, from that immediate, they're going to hit millions, if not tens of millions of players out of the gate. It's going to be interesting to see how many players stick with it in the longer term, to me.
One of the things I noticed as well, and I don't know, I'm trying to find the article on it, but I could have, and this is just, again, just I don't know whether or not it's part of Halo's official announcement or anything like that, but they mentioned that there wasn't going to be any microtransactions in there at all, or loot boxes.
No loot box, no paid loot boxes. They confirmed that.
Yeah. So are they just going to go focusing on things like skins or?
Yeah. So what they said, all they confirmed
if it's free to play and separate, that surely they'd need them. And it sounds stupid trying to advocate for it, but they'd need to make some profit off of it to keep it running properly.
Battle Pass. So they're going Battle Pass route. So, what we've kind of seen at the standard, whether I keep saying Call of Duty just because it's kind of the best comparison, right? But if you look at almost all these games now that have Battle Passes, they're about $10 per season, right? And it gives you a way to earn all these unlockables. And there's a free version and a paid version. And I would presume that's what they're going to do, along with what we've seen other games do now, is even if you have the Battle Pass, if you want to advance levels in it faster, you can spend extra money as well. But they said the customization is similar to Reach. So if anyone's not familiar with Reach multiplayer, you had all these different armor sets and pieces. You could piece on like different shoulder pieces or leg pieces or helmets. And, they're probably just going to really expand all these kind of customization options. And the other thing I was thinking would be interesting, they haven't said anything about this, but I would like to see them go like Gears a bit, where you go into the lore of Halo and you start to allow unlockable characters. So like, blue team characters, right? You could be Fred, or you could be Linda, or you could be all these famous Spartans from the comics and the books and everything else that Halo nerds like Dan really like.
Yeah. I have no idea who those people are. I don't even know what you're talking about.
So Dan, this is a good conversation for you, really, because you would have owned you have Game Pass. You play Halo anyway, right? You're not typically a Halo multiplayer or competitive multiplayer guy to begin with, as we always joke.
Right.
Does this entice you any more to play, or are you still it doesn't matter, I'm still not really interested?
No, I'm not. But here's the thing, though. I mean, I'm not into any multiplayer, though, to be fair.
Right.
So I play very, very little any kind of multiplayer, except for maybe co-op, and even that, not very much. So this, not really. I've played some Halo Online. What I got out of it, and I think my kids are past this point, but when they were a certain age, I think it was 3 with Forge, when we used to play and make our own maps and do all that kind of stuff. That was super fun for us. And we played, split screen co-op, and we'd have a ball. So that was more my forte, I guess. But I tried a little bit of a multiplayer. I'm just not good at it. So it's just not fun for me. And that's not specific to Halo either. It's pretty much every game. So I'm excited for it. I think it's a good move for sure to go free to play. But the key is to come out with a product that is going to that doesn't have issues. That's what we don't want to see. We want to see as fully realized, as you can, not maybe less like how Gears 5 launched with their multiplayer, but just like a full suite of whatever, you're going to have planned for it, have it ready to go, and have it working really well. And, it's going to, with all, that many people and bringing in that many more people, it's going to be a push on those servers for sure. Day one, it's going to be awesome to watch. But, if anybody can do it, it's Microsoft, right? So
one of the key things I've taken from it is the 120 frames that they're pushing for the multiplayer. It's awesome, but how they're going to balance that on Xbox One, Infinite, and PC?
Yeah, Xbox One will be 60 again. I mean, if they do like Halo 5, it was 60 with obviously lowered resolution.
Then you've got the massive advantage.
Yeah.
I think
on Series X and PC.
Yeah, that's true, man.
Yeah, that's why I'm buying a Series X.
But you're right. I mean, just getting into just the engagement numbers, you're going to have a huge, just for the PC players alone, you're talking millions of people.
Well, you've seen how well Master Chief Collection's done. As soon as that went on the feet, it's just boom.
Every time they release just a single new title, it jumps to the number one again.
I can't say anything bad about what their game plan is here. It's fantastic, and this is it's got, like you said, it's got that kind of Fortnite model, that kind of Halo or Call of Duty battle royale model. The battle pass seems to be the way to go nowadays. I mean, I can't this is going to sound super hypocritical, but like the whole skin thing, When you're playing a first-person shooter, I mean, I don't get it, but at the same time, I've also spent almost $100 in Sea of Thieves, so I really can't speak on it. It's one of those things where it's like that's the first thing that pops into my mind. Like, why would you buy skins? And I'm like, wait a minute, I do that all the time. But I mean, it's they've got obviously they're going in a whole different direction than Sony right now, a totally different direction. Whether it's better or worse, that's subjective. I don't know. We'll see how it turns out. But
I don't think it's better or worse for either. To be fair, I think they've both got to have a separate game plan. Otherwise, it just gets stale.
Oh yeah.
If one company wants to go like Sony do, want to go through these epic cinematic experiences from start to finish, then keep doing that. It's where your bread and butter is. Go for it. But Microsoft clearly want much larger engagement numbers, and they showed that at the showcase. They want so many variable outputs. If you want a story game, play a story game. You want a shooting game, play that. You want a racing game, play that. If you want a pirate Sea of Thieves, play that. If you want, you name it, they have it, and that's what they're trying to push. Whatever you want to play, we've got that kind of game, so go for it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and you can't put out, this is the way this model is going to work. It's not like with how Sony's doing it, where you've got, now The Last of Us and say Ghost of Tsushima, that's kind of an anomaly, right? You don't usually get them releasing that close
back to back.
Yeah.
Right. So
7-year games back to back.
Right. You at the best, you're probably going to have every 6 months for quality stuff. So between that time, what do you do?
Battletoads, baby.
No. I was
all day long.
I've always been down on that game. I was like, oh wait, we can play together and play co-op. No, you can't.
No, you can't. It's couch.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. But
different topic.
Different topic, right? I mean, like I said, this is I can't see anything bad going on, assuming that they launch in a good state. That this is going to be massive for Microsoft and huge for the Halo community. So I'm pretty excited for them.
Yeah, I think Dutch had a very good point there around, people continue to think this is some sort of console war, and we hear that all the time, and they're doing this, and Sony's got these cinematic games, like you said, and story-driven games, and Microsoft can't match that, and blah, blah, blah. But the gaming industry is big enough, and we keep saying this, right? Big enough to easily support success for Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft. Each of them are making billions and billions and billions of dollars, and I think that's only going to continue to grow for each of them. I don't think there's, we keep saying there's not one approach that has to work here. Microsoft's model is completely different from what PlayStation is trying to do, and that's okay. It's especially okay because we own them all. So the game, there's so many options on what to play. I think it's fantastic. But I saw someone, I think it might have been Clobril actually, who said, and it's a very valid point of, we've heard for years around why doesn't Xbox have an experience like Last of Us or Uncharted or whatever. But the counterpoint is Sony doesn't have a Halo. They just don't. They don't have anything in their portfolio from first party, like you said, Dutch, that can give you a full suite experience, the campaign and that multiplayer. That game that's going to be played for years on end and streamed by big streamers across the world and played in all these different environments. That's going to have a competitive esports.
With Gears as well. You've seen the
Gears. Sea of Thieves. Well, look what Grounded is doing this week. Grounded. It's just a preview
no one
game.
Expected that. No one
I know. That. It's just a preview game, and it's crushing it. It's #1 seller on Steam. It's
1 million sales in 48 hours.
Yeah, for a game made by 12 people.
Yeah, that's only on Steam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that doesn't factor Game Pass, Xbox sales, anything else.
I still want to see some really good story-driven experiences too.
So do I. Yeah, so do I.
I think Obsidian's going to be one of the crown jewels in Microsoft.
100%.
But
Avowed is going to be a system seller.
Yeah, Avowed. I don't think that the two are disparate, right? They don't have to be separate ideas, and I think that's what Phil Spencer and others on the Xbox side have said, is that now that we have this depth of talent in the studio pool, we can continue to make these interactive experiences like they've done well for a while now, but they can add the Fables, the Avoweds, the In Exile's working on a AAA RPG, Compulsion's working on a single-player story game. I think you're going to get both. Now, whether or not they're all the way up to the quality of what we've seen out of Sony, who knows? But I think you'll get that.
Like you said there, though, the difference in Sony and Microsoft is Sony have an abundance of creators like Guerrilla and Kojima and all of these different studios and Sony Santa Monica all making these action adventure cinematic epics, but they're all very much centered around the same kind of game. Microsoft have went around the opposite way. They said, right, okay, we've got this studio that can make this type of game. We've got this studio that can make this kind of game. We've got this studio, which is actually making 2 different games, but are using assets from both, i.e. Playground Games.
Yeah.
Open World, Forza Horizon, and Fable.
Yeah.
So but they've got 2 separate teams. You've got Obsidian, have got 3 games out at the moment, and they're continuing to develop all 3 of them. And you've got...
you got Initiative they haven't even shown yet.
Yeah, don't even know what they're playing at. You've got Ninja Theory have 3 games in the works.
Yep.
But they're all completely different styles. Like there's no one game is exactly the same. Then you've got all your little kind of indie titles as well that they're pumping out left, right, and center.
Yep. I think to Dan's point, Dan, you said something about like 6 months, right? With these, whatever the big experience would be, and Phil's actually commented on that, saying that basically they want to have core first party releases every quarter. So I mean that's a bold statement, right? To say that you're going to have a maybe not AAA big budget, right? But you're going to have a solid first party release at least once a quarter. Never mind all the indie stuff and smaller stuff like Dutch was talking about.
And you know, like when you guys were saying, you know, I mean, it's really not them competing with each other anymore. You know, and I think that's why part of it, you see all these marketing deals with Sony and Call of Duty and games like that, is because they don't have the Halo, they don't have something like Grounded, you know, they don't have those first party games that are going to pull in that multiplayer base. So, you know, I mean, and really in reality, you know, Call of Duty, FIFA, Madden, all those games are the ones that are going to be pulling people into the ecosystems for the most part. But, and maybe, like I said in the article, all those single player first party games as a group, that's something to tempt somebody with, but they don't have that. What Halo's going to try to be, they don't have anything like that. But at the same time, technically they're not competing with each other, and I think this really shows that fact. You know, Microsoft's going in a kind of a different direction, but also is going to have, like you said, Ains, those single player experiences. So I mean, I don't care. You know what? This is awesome.
Just more games.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be, you know, like August. I looked at the August releases.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I'm done. I got Mafia. I still got Kingdoms.
And I forgot Mafia on that list too.
Yeah, I'm still working through Ghost of Tsushima as well. I haven't.
Me too.
Scratched the surface on that.
I'm literally just got through Act 2 on my second playthrough on that game.
You like it a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's just so much fun to play. That's it. I mean, you know, I mean, it's not that masterpiece game, but it just kind of hits me in the right spot.
Yeah, it's good. Steve, good to see you in chat. He said, you mean Killzone isn't a Halo killer? No. That was branded wrong from the start. Yeah. So, although, you know, I'd like to see, I think it was Carl maybe that mentioned Resistance. Yeah, I'm one that would like to see Resistance come back now that Insomniac is a first party over at Sony as well. Love Resistance. Yeah. So, yeah, I think, I think, you know, when you add all these pieces together and look at the total vision for Infinite, I'll end on this, right? If you look at free to play, Xbox One, Series X, PC, right? All the opportunities there. You look at all the streaming that's going to occur. You look at it being on Steam. It's going to be #1 on Steam for a while. I guarantee that. It's going to be streamed by millions and millions and millions of people. It's going to Forge, right? So like you were saying, Dan, the Forge community is bigger than people think, which means a ton of custom, crazy-ass games that you'll see in Halo because people make some crazy stuff in Forge. So that's going to be popular. And then you add esports on top of all of that. This is going to be a major, major, major release. So I'm pumped. I think the thing most exciting for me is that the more people supporting Halo, the more people playing it, the more they're going to support it long term, right? So that you just continue to play it. I mean, Halo 5 is still played today 5 years later, and that was just an Xbox One release. You know, it's just the multiplayer is that good. So, yeah.
You know what I really miss from Halo? And I think Ains, you might miss it as well. Remember the old Red versus Blue series?
Oh yeah.
I wish that come back.
That was so awesome.
Funny.
That was Rooster Teeth.
Yeah, Rooster Teeth. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bert, who used to be on the Bitcast and guest sometimes now, he lives about 10 minutes from them. From
Really?
Rooster Teeth. Yeah, they're in Austin, Texas.
Get him to put in a word, get that red versus blue back up
again. Get it going.
That was so funny.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if Halo Infinite is going to be as big as we're talking about, it wouldn't surprise me to see some of those things come back. I mean, you never know. So, all right. Moving on to a different game that we've been a little more down on over time, but I think it's starting to turn that corner. And Dan, I figure you can speak a little more about this one than I can. Sure. Is we saw more on Avengers this week. We got the second War Table live stream, and we saw a little more about what's coming in the game. We saw some of the DLC plans. We saw Hawkeye, who people seem to be excited for. I don't know why, but that's me.
Yeah, no.
But we also have the beta coming Friday. So only next week here we're going to get the beta on PlayStation 4 if you pre-ordered. So Dan, I have to ask, are you playing on PS4?
I already got it pre-ordered. Like I said, I said I think a few episodes ago, I'm just gonna go with whoever's got the damn marketing rights for these third-party games anymore. Unless I'm starting to, unless you start seeing like a huge leap in where they're that differentiated between consoles. But I really, really want to play this. And I love the Avengers, but at the same time, like you said, Ains, I wasn't very high on it going into it until this week, where it looks like they've actually, they're explaining it a little bit better. It looks a lot better than it has. So I'm cautiously optimistic that it'll be good. I want to see what this beta is. And I mean, I'm already kind of locked in because I pre-ordered the digital version, but it is what it is. I'm really excited for it. Hawkeye can suck one. I don't really care about that dude. I mean, there were so many other ones to pick from, like Black Panther or anybody else that's not Hawkeye. So I mean, it's fine. I guess it fits more of the the MCU where you kind of bring in that last guy that was in all the movies. It's kind of
I was gonna say, yeah,
people probably have that familiarity to him.
Play at that.
That's fine. Whatever. But I mean, he's not like super exciting. I've got enough people that fire bow and arrows in my game, so I don't need any more. But I'm excited for it. I'll probably write something up, after I play it and kind of get a quick thoughts on the beta for the site and see what that is. It looks like it's hitting at the right time too. It's hitting at a time where Cyberpunk has now moved, thankfully. So I'll actually be able to invest some time into it and see how it is. We'll see how they do it. I'm a little concerned with like the microtransactions still, but we'll play around and see what we can do.
I think that's the first time I ever heard you say, thankfully Cyberpunk was moved.
Yeah, that's the only time. I mean, for their sake. Not for
yeah.
At the same time, the Avengers wouldn't even be played. That would work. So
yeah, so it definitely looks like the game's come around a little more. I'm not too interested in it, but it looks better than it used to for sure. So what's up, GJ? Good to see you, man. Dutch, any interest in this? Do you get into the superhero thing? You looking forward to this game at all?
I'm not, to be honest. I mean, I haven't played Spider-Man yet, but it is on sale on the summer sale on PlayStation, so I think I'll pick it up just to see what it's about. But I'm not a massive. I love the superhero films, but game-wise, nah.
Okay.
Never been my thing. I have seen a little bit of a kick-off on the Avengers thing and how messy the kind of equipment system is.
Yeah,
that thing looks a mess right now. I think they need to simplify that a little bit.
Yeah. I think Steve kind of nailed it here in the chat. He said, I don't think they really knew what they wanted to do with this game and then have started to kind of hone it in over the last year. It feels like one of those games that's been in development a long time and they're trying to get it to come together at the end. Whether or not it will.
Then they're seeing all of these different online specific games mess up in certain areas and thinking, right, okay, we now know what we need to avoid, and then having to then reiterate on things that they had already implemented and then change it closer to the time. So
yeah. Yep, very true.
I'm glad you can play single player or don't have to play single player. You're not locked into like a forced online co-op or anything like that. So that kind of lifted it a little bit for me because I was a little bit worried. I wouldn't have pre-ordered unless they said that. There would have been no way because I've been like, I don't want to play these scrubs. They don't know my powers. They're out of their damn minds. So
we'll see. I'll look forward to because I'm not pre-ordering or playing in the beta, but I'll look forward to your impressions, Dan, because I think the PS4 beta is this Friday. Then I think it's PC and Xbox the following Friday. Yep. And then I think the Friday after that, it's open beta, so anyone can play it. But that's obviously going to be 2 weeks later. So by then, we'll kind of hear more about it.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. All right, so we've got August gaming events coming up, and I figured we touch on these because, as we said, Xbox Game Showcase, we covered that. We obviously covered PlayStation Showcase. The Ubisoft Forward event wasn't really what we were looking for, although seeing Valhalla in action was really cool. But I think we're going to get another Ubisoft event. We're going to get another Xbox event. We're going to get another PlayStation event. And so, I was kind of thinking through what we'd like to see from Ubisoft. So let's think about all the things we didn't see in the last Forward event. And really all of their kind of games that have been in hiding for a while, right? So we've got Gods and Monsters. We haven't seen anything from. Beyond Good and Evil 2, which, Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, they just announced a Netflix series?
Yep, anime or something. I don't know. Maybe it's a regular series. It's something on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Splinter Cell too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, and Splinter Cell, right? Anime series.
Yeah. That's what everybody wanted. The hell out of
here. Skull and Bones, they've apparently rebooted, and they're changing whatever the hell that game is from what I played originally. And then Far Cry 6, we haven't seen gameplay yet. We've only seen the cinematics. And then, of course, Splinter Cell, which who knows at this point. I think we've all given up hope. So I would say, what do you guys want to see from this event? Is there anything on this list that really strikes home with you, obviously, other than Splinter Cell? But is there anything else that you're expecting?
I don't think I'm expecting anything else, but I'd be good to see Beyond Good and Evil 2.
Okay.
I'm really interested in that. Gods and Monsters look fun, but I think Skull and Bones, I think, especially, you've played it, but from what I've seen of it anyway, it is simply ship combat. It's just pulled straight out of Black Flag.
It was very similar.
Yeah. So I think they might have learned straight away there that market might have been extremely small and might need to elaborate a bit more on that world before they kind of push it out a bit. So I'm not massively up for Skull and Bones, to be honest. I think Sea of Thieves has done so much in its area, the whole pirate adventure, both ship battles. Then you've got arena mode in Sea of Thieves now, which is simply all ship battles. You've got an abundance of different tasks, and I think when Skull and Bones looked at it, they thought, we're not going to have much here. It's a little bit more realistic art style, but I don't think they've got the kind of depth in the game that really would have kept that thing going for a while. Be nice to see Far Cry 6 gameplay. Splinter Cell's more of a meme than anything else now. It's like having another Half-Life 3 thing again and not being VR.
Very true.
So no, I don't know. I'm not going to hold my breath on a Splinter Cell. But I'll be happy just with more info on Gods and Monsters, some gameplay eventually of Good and Evil 2 and Far Cry 6.
Yeah, I think anyone holding their breath for Splinter Cell has died, and we can probably move on from that now at this point. Dan, I know you want a Splinter Cell.
Sure.
What about this other stuff?
Yeah, who cares if they put it on Splinter Cell? I don't need anime. Nobody cares about that. I don't need them to show up and, Sam Fisher to show up in another game. At this point, like you said, Dodge, it's a meme. And all that's... What I don't want to see is more Assassin's Creed, more Legion. I want to see new stuff. We know all that other stuff is coming. We've seen quite a bit of it. We haven't seen anything on this list. Beyond Good and Evil 2, who knows with that one? Skull and Bones, if they're revamping it, I don't think that's going to be out for another year. And really, it's Far Cry 6, and that was their big one last episode or the last show they did, and it's going to be Far Cry. It's going to be a first-person shooter. There's going to be towers. I'm sure animals. You're going to have outposts. You're probably
you're in a city this time, so you might just be able to go to the supermarket and get your stock up.
Yeah, I want to see what they do with it. But I'm a big Far Cry guy. I've loved every one of them except for really. New Dawn and Primal to a certain extent. It was all right. It was just
they're still fun to play, regardless of the absurdity. Sometimes
I always say, you want. I like that familiarity of those kind of games. I don't care if they have to, unless they're going to come out and really change the whole dynamic of the mechanics and stuff, then really just come in and show us what it looks like. Yeah, and that's what we've been missing really from any one of these events that anybody's been doing. We haven't seen anything that's gone, hey, this is next gen stuff. So
something that really blows us away.
Right.
They've all been very reserved, haven't they? Very reserved.
It's insane and frustrating when you're going to have guys that are going to be spending all this money on a system. I mean, I know that's not maybe Xbox's play, but PlayStation needs to go come out and say, hey, we've got something more than Spider-Man, which is awesome because I love Spider-Man, but also Spider-Man Day today. Just throwing that out hashtag.
What's Spider-Man Day?
It's Spider-Man Day.
Why?
I don't know. No clue. I woke up and like, all right, Spider-Man Day.
It's Spider-Man Day. Is August 1st Spider-Man Day?
I'm just telling you, man. It's trending right now.
It's trending as we speak. Okay. So, here's me looking at Spider-Man Day. I'm just like, no.
Yeah, I mean, come on, maybe have that Far Cry 6 gameplay look really, really good. I mean, that's what I want. I don't want, and normally it does. It's just I want to see some good graphics. I want to see what this is going to do on next gen systems. So show it.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you're joking about Far Cry, and we've given Far Cry a lot of shit, but here I am. I've ordered the collector's edition with a mock flamethrower,
What you did.
Of course, just to put it in the gaming room for the hell of it. But yeah, I don't know. I like the story setup they've had anyway, right? With the villain, and I just hope they do a little something different. It could be fun being in a city, and I don't know, just show us something different. That's all, and make sure, for God's sake, it takes advantage of the Series X and the PS5. So
that's the key, man.
Yeah, we did hear that Watch Dogs is going to have that patch on the Series X, but also getting ray tracing as well on Series X, which could be cool. So, all right, yeah, for me, there's nothing too big on this. Skull and Bones, I was actually pretty excited about, even though it was very Ubisofty. If it would have been like a pirate kind of adventure in the vein of Assassin's Creed, but then I think the overlap there is just too close. So that's why they're doing what they're doing. But to Dutch's point, like you guys said, it's like you've got Sea of Thieves, which is doing the pirate kind of service game. So they have to figure out now, right, how to differentiate it from that. Because you don't want to just come out with another service pirate game in the same vein. That would be a waste of time. So I don't know. We'll see. All right, PlayStation. So PlayStation, rumored right now, state of play is next week. So somewhere between August 5th and August 11th is what I've heard. Whether or not that's true or not, we'll see. But obviously, we don't have, for either next-gen console, right? We don't have price yet. That's obviously the biggest factor. We don't have release date, and we don't have any confirmed launch lineups at this point either. Both Sony and Xbox have also said that they have other games that they have yet to show. So we talked about, you guys both just said we haven't seen anything that's really blown us away. It feels like in some degrees they're still holding back a little bit. For you guys to be kind of pleased with PlayStation coming into the fall with the PS5, what would you like to see out of their next event?
I need a launch lineup.
Yeah.
I need something to entice us to get the console. As it stands, if you're not a superhero fan, why would you get the console?
That's what it is right now, man.
Yeah, Miles Morales is the big one, and I have no interest in it.
Miles Morales and Godfall, which seems just like an iterative version of like a Destiny hack and slash.
It looks poor. I was hoping for big things out of that game when I heard about the concept, right? Like ARPG, class building, and then they showed the gameplay, and I was like, oh boy, this looks bad.
Yeah. But other than that, I need something. I need like we have a shady roadmap-ish from PlayStation, but there's still nothing big wow that's been shown for me. There's been nothing to entice. I'm going to be getting it anyway. It makes no difference.
Us too.
Yeah. But for the average consumer, when you're thinking of what to get for the next console, you're going to go on launch day and just pick up Spider-Man, and then what?
Yeah, especially if it says the type of game we're hearing, right, where it's more of
enhanced version of the first.
Yeah, thank you. My mind is kind of off, right? Like an Uncharted Lost Legacy. It's not like a new, fully built entry. It's more of a sidestep. So, whether it's 10, 15 hours, whatever, but that would be pretty disappointing. They do have, We know they have timed exclusivity on a couple games like Deathloop. I'm really interested in Deathloop, but again, Deathloop is not a system seller by any stretch of the imagination.
And is that a launch title?
Supposedly.
Yeah.
They haven't. It's Bethesda. It's Bethesda, so they haven't confirmed it. So we'll see.
The thing with from both, and like I say on PlayStation side, but from both, we haven't seen a definitive launch lineup. We know we're getting, at least on Xbox, we know we're getting a big first party title at launch, even though that's cross-gen.
Yes, yeah. I think it's definitely a difference maker at time.
But we also have the Medium, which is a launch title.
Yeah, I'm excited. Super excited for the Medium as well.
So you guys, last week.
The what?
So I was until last week when I.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't realize it was a horror game.
I thought it was more like Evil Within-ish, but not.
That's a horror game.
Yeah, but I played that one and it wasn't too bad until I got to about halfway through and I was like, oh, I'm done.
I don't think this one will be too bad for you if you can play Evil Within.
I think it might be all right. Yeah.
Well, you know what?
It's more of a psychological horror. It's more of a kind of going between two worlds and puzzle solving and things like that. So I think it'd be all right.
Yeah. And you know what, Dan? It doesn't matter because Game Pass.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter, man.
Game Pass.
Just play it. Just play it.
That was another one of my points, actually. PlayStation at launch, it's a very costly launch thing. Regardless of the cost of the console at launch, you're going to have to fork out for the console. Plus, in fact, depending on the size of the internal memory, potential external memory you're going to need to get, because 825 gig isn't helping nobody.
No, very true.
Assuming that they actually have something to launch.
Cost of exactly. At least Xbox have got that peripheral ready to go.
Yep.
But then you've also got the fact that you will have to buy those games separately at 50 to 60 per game. So that's already hundreds you're spending at launch on top of the cost of the console, whether that's a $450 or $500 console. You still the cost is going up and up. So the requirements to start the new gen really puts more onus on PlayStation to have something more substantial to offer at launch.
Yeah, that's true. You've got to present some sort of value there, right? Because the value proposition on the Xbox side is ridiculous. And you know as well as I do, we've talked.
It'll be completely missing a trick on Xbox's side if they don't launch every console with, say, even 3-month Game Pass.
That's what I was just going to say. Yeah, we've talked about that. I guarantee it's at least 3 months of Game Pass that's going to come with any new Series X or whatever, because
which means you get the console done. You don't have to worry about getting launch games. You just have them.
Yep. Yeah, it's a completely different proposition. I agree with you. And like I said, for us, it doesn't matter. I'm buying them all anyway. But as Dan said, the interesting thing I find about PS5, especially with, and you mentioned a touch around hard drive space, right? 825. So assuming you take the operating system out of that, you're probably looking at 700-ish usable if it's like any other traditional drive we've seen, right? Maybe high 600s, which freaking Warzone's like 130 gigs by itself right now. Never mind PS5 and Series X enhancements. So that leaves you. There's no first party support for external drives, which leads you, Mariano. Which leads you looking at third party drives, but they have to be up to PS5 spec, which means either there's going to be a very limited selection, and even if there is one that you can find, it's going to be pricey, right? Not that the Xbox One's not going to be pricey, I'm sure it is, but it definitely seems like a very old school thought mentality around launching a new console. This is a completely new platform, new generation, and you need to buy everything new. Really, the only thing that's going to work going into next gen with PlayStation is your accessories, so like your controllers. They've confirmed.
But even then, even if they do still work, they have also reiterated that going into next gen, that all of the games will be built specifically for not only the console but for the controller.
Yeah.
So you're going to miss out a ton of features and a ton of things from the new DualSense kind of haptic feedbacks.
Yeah.
The built-in microphone, everything that is built into the new DS5 controller has been built specifically for all of these games that they're building. So that DS4 controller is going to be nigh on, other than just getting around the game, is going to be useless because it's not going to work with the features that it's been built for.
Yeah, if they add, exactly. If they add haptic things.
The only thing you're missing out for on an Xbox is the share button.
Yeah. which you can still share. You just don't have the button.
Yeah,
exactly right. So it's just interesting to me, and I think you're right. I think realistically, I'd like to see them have some other big title at launch, but I just don't think they do. And we've talked about this for a while, is that the timing of their first party development didn't allow for that. Because if you look at all their first party studios, we've talked through this before. Sucker Punch just released, Naughty Dog just released. Sony Santa Monica is not ready. Guerrilla, who's the closest with Horizon 2, is not ready and probably won't be ready for even a year yet, at least. What else you got? You got Sony Japan Studio. They don't have anything they've shown to come out at launch. So it's just, it's really interesting to me. I'm curious to see, because I think no matter what, just due to the strength of the PS4 and due to how user bases are kind of feel like they're staying more together nowadays, it's going to be really interesting to see how successful PS5 is at launch. I still think it's going to blow the doors off. I think they're going to sell all the units. I just don't know what that value proposition looks like.
At the same time, I think their wording around going to the next gen's a little bit more. I don't know. I think it's a little bit more harsh on the extremely large user base they've built up. You can't just assume, and they want it to be the quickest transition from gen to gen in history. So you can't assume 120 million people are going to buy your console within the first 2 years. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen.
Sure. No.
But they've also built up a segment of that user base, which is probably around the 2 million mark now, which is on VR, and they haven't mentioned VR at all for next gen yet.
That's true. That's very true. Maybe we see that in August. So that's a good point, right? Because we've heard about a rumored update to PSVR 2.0, which I'm waiting for. Be interested in that. So, Mariano, thanks as always, man. Got to give you the shout out. You said, I'm showing this, sorry, need to transfer some funds thanks to Dan. I know, Dan's spending all your funds, man. I got to pull them off the account. Following on Dutch's comment, will PS4 accessories work on PS5 like Xbox One to Xbox Series X, the XX?
Astro said they would. So that's one I know, because I have that stuff and I made sure I checked it out before.
So I know official ones do, right? Like official PlayStation accessories. But I thought they said that anything that was officially licensed by PlayStation on PS4 will work on PS5, meaning like our Nacons would as well. Right. I thought. Yeah. So I believe that's the official word. But to Dutch's point, they're changing the controller more than Xbox is changing the controller, which I think is cool. And I'm curious to use the DualSense. But it does, if games start using it, then obviously it creates a gap there. We don't know how much the DualSense is going to cost yet either. It could be a $60, $70 controller.
I'm thinking 70 with everything they've put in it. It's already a 50. I mean, the DS4 has, other than a touchpad and the speaker built into it, there's nothing intuitive about that controller. There's nothing that pushes the price up, but it's still a $50, $60 controller.
It's true.
Yeah. I mean, I think you guys touched on a lot of stuff. I think, to your point, Dutch, they're not going to just abandon 120 million players right off the bat. They made that point that anything developed for the PS5, the PS4, was it July 1st or 3rd or something? I can't
July 13th, or it's like a weird date, 17th.
It's a really weird date. Should be forwards compatible.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, they know better. Even Jim Ryan came out and said, we're not going to, this is what we're doing, but we're not going to just forget about all these players back then. It'd be insane. You don't just drop your entire fan base and then just say, okay, this is, you have to buy this, especially when you don't have the numbers, to sell. So I think a lot of, we need to see games, launch titles from both of these systems, to push them. But at the same time, Xbox doesn't really care if you buy their system. You probably actually, if you invest in like a year's worth of Game Pass and don't buy the console, but you can play it on, your PC, or you can play it on your phone or whatever you want to do, you're actually saving them money in the end because they don't take a loss on the hardware. So it's really, I think when it comes down to it, I think, I don't necessarily care who's going to sell more consoles. I think PlayStation will off the bat, because most of the people on there are playing FIFA. Most of the people, I mean, that's it. I mean,
that's the state of the world.
Yeah, they're playing FIFA. They're playing Call of Duty. They're going to probably stay with it. Crossplay is going to come in once FIFA goes crossplay. It won't really matter. Then you can go, well, hey, look at we haven't even talked about Lockhart potentially, coming out with like a $250 console, and now I can get it on here for way, way less. If people wait to jump over, and they say, oh, I can pay $250 for this console. I can play with my friends on any platform I want to, and play with them from Xbox to PS4. We don't talk about crossplay a lot, but once they go over, EA actually does their thing, which I don't think it really matters to them. I mean, I would think that they would, embrace that, but they haven't yet. Probably because they just don't want to do a whole lot of work on these sports titles that are the same every single year that I still buy. There's so many things that go into it. But to your biggest point, I don't know what the hell's launching except for Godfall and Spider-Man, which great, and then Halo and the Medium, great. But we've got to see 6 or 7 titles that are going to blow our minds. They're going to say, this is why you need to upgrade right now. But I at the same time, I don't think they're going to do it. I really don't. Neither one of them. With Halo, people are going to play that wherever they, that's just a game that everybody's going to play on Microsoft. It's just going to happen. So I don't know, man. I want to see more. I'm tired.
As you're saying, though, PlayStation are the ones that need to shift units. Xbox don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. And the interesting thing, I don't know if you guys saw this week, but did you see this? So this was an advertisement that came out and kind of the first one I've seen anyway that showed side by side that there's an Xbox copy, which will work on, any Xbox basically, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a PS4 copy and a PS5 copy. And the weird thing here is as you just alluded to, Dan, I would assume, and maybe I could be wrong, but I would assume that because of Sony's mandate, like you said, that anything after July 13th, 17th, whatever it is, has to work on PS5, that technically you could own the PS4 copy of that and then play it on PS5, supported, right? But I guess what they're saying is they're definitely drawing a clear line in the sand of we're going to have PS5 copies, period, even on the shelves or even in the PSN store versus a PS4 copy. Whereas an Xbox is just Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where the messaging comes in, and that's we're struggling so much with from both of these companies is just like get it out there and make it clear and tell us your intentions or tell us what's coming. We don't have to have don't push something one month and then change your mind the next month. Or, how is backwards compatibility going to work, Sony? Nobody knows because, I still will. Smart delivery is awesome. Why? Because it's actually concise messaging. And it's not because you won't see that with PlayStation games because you will. They just won't have the fancy name for it. But at least they're coming out with this and saying, okay, this is smart delivery. And everybody says, well, that's, it is. It's marketing speak, but they've done a good job with it.
But you have to do that, right? Because not everyone is us. Not everyone is looking at this stuff day in, day out. Most people aren't looking at this stuff day in, day out.
Just make it clear. So that in that respect, Microsoft has done a very, very good job. PlayStation, I have no idea what they're doing yet. And I mean, that's what August has to be. I mean, you're running out of time here, people.
This is the latest they've ever gone before launch. Console launch.
Price.
Yeah.
100%.
And it's a chess match. They're just waiting for one to jump because Microsoft.
For us, it's not so bad because will be getting them anyway.
Yeah.
Regardless of the price ish to a point. If it's £1,000, that's a bit different.
Right.
Yeah. But no, we'll be getting them anyway, so it doesn't bother to us. But if you go down to a neutral standpoint, the latest they've ever had, somebody had to save up £500 before lunch, 500-600.
Yeah.
Some people need to think about how they're getting this money. Some people don't have 500-600 sitting in the bank.
No doubt. Price is a huge factor. And I think, again, that goes, and even more than it normally is because of the pandemic we're sitting through, especially, Dutch, I don't have a good image of what how bad it's gotten in the UK in terms of the economy over there. But in terms of US, which is the biggest market for these consoles. Yeah. And UK is like, when you take UK as a whole, right? Or they're one of the big markets as well. But the North American market is crushed right now. I mean, our economy is in shambles.
If it wasn't for companies like Amazon, there would be nothing continuing to really get to people.
Okay.
I mean, little electronic stores like we've got a PC World / Currys, which is your equivalent, I think, of something like GameStop.
Okay.
And I mean, I can type in to try and find a TV to get delivered here, and no matter which area of my entirety of the Northeast, which is say 50 to 100 miles in diameter, I cannot get a delivery.
Wow.
None. I can't get a TV delivered. I will have to physically go and drive somewhere, potentially 30 to 40 miles away, to get a TV.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, it just accentuates the point, right? That right now, more than ever, families aren't, going to be like, okay, I've got $500 to spend or 500 quid to spend on a new console. And like you said, Dutch, with PlayStation especially, it doesn't end there. It's 500 plus your games, plus if you want an extra controller to play co-op, plus anything else to go along with that.
You're talking 700-800 launch for PlayStation.
Yeah, if you want a few games, yeah.
Xbox is just console. That's it, sorted.
Or not even that.
Yeah.
You don't even have that.
Exactly, not even that.
$15, and now I'm in.
Yeah, it's a very.
We know that they're not going to be putting Series X's into the servers for xCloud until middle of next year.
Right.
So I think you'll not see the difference really on the xCloud capabilities till then.
Yep.
But yeah, you'll be able to play the games. They won't be to the same fidelity as Series X, but they'll be good. It works well, and I mean, especially during now. I think it's xCloud launch in September.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think then you'll see even more streamlined. Now, I've been in it for months now, since the original flight. So I've seen it. And it's, even then, like, there's been games on xCloud, and Dan, if you've been playing it, I don't know if Ains has been playing it.
Yeah.
But the game list has been, as well as just playing games that are on Game Pass, there's been games that have dropped in there that haven't been available for free on any of them, whether that be games with gold or console. I mean, which was the fighter pilot game. I've forgotten the name of that one now. Ace Combat 7 was on xCloud from the start, and it was never even on Game Pass or anything. And I went on to say, "Oh, is this in Game Pass?" Because I've been playing it on xCloud, and it wasn't. It was still like 40 quid on the. So it was. There's games that go on xCloud that aren't on Game Pass.
I wonder if it's just something they wanted to test, maybe. Some type of. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, I've definitely been using xCloud. We did a interview with Bill Stillwell, who was part of the original xCloud team last year at E3, and it's fascinating. Yeah, fascinating tech. So we'll see what that looks like. But we didn't even touch on that, right? That's a whole nother thing that you get with kind of the Xbox ecosystem. Is my word of the month, I think I keep using. But anyway, yeah. So, yeah, I think so we should at least here, you would think probably in the next 2 weeks, we'll be talking about price. We'll be talking about date. We'll be talking about launch games, hopefully. But, with the state of game development right now, because of the pandemic, it actually won't surprise me to see games get delayed, from launch into next year, as late as September, October time. It just might happen. So we're not even going to talk about the whole Halo debate that's raging right now due to the campaign reveal.
Come on.
So, no, we're good.
They've already, we'll very, very quickly touch on that. The team have already come out and said specifically, we agree wholeheartedly that needs to look better by launch, and it will do.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the way they addressed it. They came out, they've owned everything, right? They own Craig as much as last week we had, the Craig things going everywhere. Actually, Dan, I was looking at this one and I was kind of laughing because it says, Phil, get me out of here. And sure enough, what happened this week? The conversation shift to free to play multiplayer and 120 FPS. And look, they shifted the narrative, right? It's done.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. You've got to embrace that kind of stuff instead of running away from it, and
tackle it head on.
Because it quiets that other side down, the people that are yelling like, "Oh, look at this," and then you're just like, you know what? Here we go. And I think that's like the worst thing for the whole Twitter thing, is getting upset about this kind of thing. And Craig is fantastic. I mean,
he's everywhere, man.
Yeah, he's awesome. I just ordered a shirt with him on it. So,
my gosh. Yeah. Did you order that one I sent you the link to?
I did. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Even though that guy had me blocked. I had to find them in a different account. I don't even know what I did.
All right, stay tuned for Craig's shirt here in the near future. Yep. But yeah, no, that's the point, right? Is you just come out, you tackle it head on. They've done the right thing, and yeah, I mean, we're going to get into a rant in a minute, so I'll save that real quick before we move on to that. Though I did want to touch on Avowed. We got some details of that. We ran an article this week, details that we believe to be true. Now, as with everything else, right? Obsidian didn't come out and give these details, but we kind of track down where they come from, who's kind of giving the information, and they seem to be kind of valid. And so just get your guys' thoughts on this. I mean, the thoughts are probably pretty straightforward. It sounds fantastic, but I figured I'd share them with the audience anyway. So Avowed. So Obsidian's AAA RPG that they've been wanting to make. Full open world with a focus on density. Sorry about that. Focus on density of areas, including major cities. Yeah. Including major cities and iconic landmarks in those cities. It's going to have a full real-time weather system. It's going to have very, very large-scale bosses, they said. And so don't really know what that means. I don't know if they're thinking, if this is a first-person RPG, if they're thinking like Dark Souls style, where it's just massive, on the screen, or who knows. Very detailed character creation suite, including, numerous classes and customization. And similar to Pillars of Eternity, there will be companions in the game as well, though they'll function differently than in Pillars, including dynamic dialogue and AI reactions as well. So I don't know if that means more advanced kind of decision trees, those types of things. We'll see.
Yeah.
And a mod system as well. So full mod support, including on Xbox as well, on Series X, along with PC, which, the Skyrim modding community is off the charts. It's probably one of the most modded games. So thinking about that type of support could be really impressive. So as soon as I saw these details and kind of read through it, I'm like, this is like dream come true for me, man. Western RPG, open world, huge bosses, character creation, a world that feels real, and the dynamic dialogue like good BioWare games. I mean, I'm all over this.
Yeah, they've been working on it for a while too. So
yeah, it's not brand new by any means.
Yeah, it could potentially come out, not in 2025. So that's even better.
2023.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been, like you say, they have been waiting on it for a while. So I think it's probably a tail end holiday 21, if not Q1 22.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. It looks awesome though. Regardless, I'm ready for it. This is the kind of game that will, blow my
That'll stop people talking about Skyrim.
About Outer Scrolls. Yeah. I mean, this is the kind of game.
On that note, is everyone looking forward to Skyrim on Xbox?
But I mean, it really, right? If they nail this like we all think they're going to do with the talent that Obsidian has and their writers and everything else, right? I mean, this Skyrim is very much a system seller game, but it's again, we talked like Halo, right? But Skyrim's third party. You can play it anywhere, literally anywhere. This again would be one of those games that's just Xbox Game Studios, it's first party, so it's interesting. And as we've said before, Game Pass, man.
Game Pass.
Just play it on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Although I'll buy the $900 collection edition for it, I'm sure. Timestamp Maker, what's up, man? He said hopefully they add a Craig Easter egg to Halo Infinite because of the meme. I absolutely think they will. 100%. You can count on it. If you're not aware, Halo has a long history of doing that. There's actually there was a guy who got famous because of a Halo clip who's actually in Master Chief Collection as one of the Marines. They put his face on him, and he actually says something out loud that you can hear him say from one of the videos. They've done that for a long time. So, all right. So real quick before we get into rants, August. No, you know what? Never mind. So this is a new section, and we're going to try this.
Okay.
Dan, did you bring something? Basically, we're at the point where, because of everything going on with hashtag Twitter guys, is what we call them around here, Dutch. Those guys are on Twitter and just want to argue over everything all the time, which we don't get into. But we figured, if nothing else, we wanted to take a couple minutes every episode to just rant about whatever is top of mind for us. So, Dan, did you come prepared to rant about anything, or are you clear-minded this week?
Clear-minded? I'm never clear-minded. All right. Yeah, I got something for you guys.
All right.
Speaking of hashtag Twitter, guys. All right, so I apologize in advance if this offends anybody, but I also don't.
Well, that's why it says rant time.
Yeah, that's right. God damn it. Here's the thing: we talk about. This is going to be kind of, to what
you're the one who said 60 seconds, so you're on the clock.
Do we put a timer?
We don't have a timer.
Okay.
Just pretend
anyway,
there's one.
Basically, what I want to say is, we sit here, we talk about the fanboys, we talk about the console wars, we talk about all this other stuff. What we don't do with these people? We don't engage them on Twitter. What we do on Twitter? We talk about how they're terrible people, which is even worse than actually engaging with them. Because I will see tweets all the time that say, "Oh, there's so much toxicity," and I hate that goddamn word. There's so much, the fanboys are so bad, and and I'm guilty of this too, but we can just ignore them and not talk about them and just talk about games instead of talking about fanboys that are talking about something else. It's so far removed at this point. If we didn't have fanboys, I don't think Twitter would exist for gaming because that's all people talk about. And it's not even quote tweeting. It's just, hey, there's some really bad members of this gaming community that, what are you even talking about? Just stop talking about them and they will go away. And if they don't, who cares? I've said it 1,000 times. Fire needs oxygen to survive. If you deprive it of it, it'll go away. All right, that's it. Just let them go. Don't talk about them talking about your game. All these people on here talking about these Halo. No, don't even give them that breath. Don't give them the space. Even this, what I'm doing right now, is counterproductive.
Yeah, you're doing exactly what you just said, but that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. So just stop. I will stop right now. We're talking about these losers. All right, let them be losers, and because that's how they survive. That's what they want. They thrive on your, the triggeredness of your responses.
Controversy.
Stop it.
There you go. That wasn't bad for our first rant. I'm sure these are going to develop into full-on blown screaming matches
for an hour and give you even more of these. Trust me, it drives me crazy.
All right, Dutch. I know you're first-time guest. Anything you want to just get off your chest while you're here?
Oh, God, I could go on for a while.
You don't have to, by the way. There's no obligation.
Specific one for me kind of touches on him. It's not just fanboys. It's people that can't let people enjoy specific platforms. If you're a fan of PlayStation, enjoy PlayStation. If you're a fan of Nintendo, enjoy Nintendo. If you're a fan of PC, enjoy it. If you're a fan of Xbox, enjoy it. But you can't these days, especially on Twitter. If you're a fan of Xbox, you automatically get somebody having a go at you from PlayStation. If you praise PlayStation, you get someone having a go at you from Xbox. Or you're automatically a fanboy on either.
Yeah.
No one really haven't really had any backlash from the Nintendo community yet.
Because they're sitting up here,
they do their own thing for the most part.
For everything they do their own thing. They just don't get. It's like, we sell millions for everything. We never have a game sale on first party, so we always sell loads.
Nobody cares.
No one cares.
They're playing Paper Mario, and that's it.
Yeah, it's true.
But then you get the PC guys. I mean, they've quieted down a lot recently, but the PC guys can be the worst.
They can be. Yeah, they certainly can be. Yeah.
But again, it's all for them. It's all down to specs. Oh, my monster PC. Yes, my monster PC.
Yeah.
That the guys with the good computers don't blast about having great computers. They just get on with it.
Yeah.
But they understand the pitfalls of owning a gaming PC.
Yeah.
Like, it's not straightforward in any way, shape, or form. The amount of problems you have getting anything set up and running is phenomenal. I can spend, and countless times I've spent more time pissing around with settings or trying to get updates working, or a game that I've been playing 20 minutes ago suddenly no longer works for no reason at all. Just, I don't feel like working.
I'm with you, man.
Yep, 100%. And the funniest part about that conversation is the fact that when you look at Steam, the biggest PC client, right, and you look at the specs of the actual hardware that people are using, it's like less than 1% have these high-end rigs. The most common graphics card, something like a GeForce 680, it's something from years ago. It makes me laugh that everyone acts like they have this $5,000 PC that can run everything at 200 frames when it's it's just not the case. It's ridiculous.
But even then, they don't. They're another one, especially when any tech source or any legitimate tech source, YouTuber or site, shows you something that cannot be, well, it is, especially now when we're talking about next generation PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, and they're saying the quality you're getting from these games cannot currently be done on current generation PC.
Yeah.
Or it cannot be done. Like, they showed off Series or Gears 5 running on Series X at anywhere up to 120 frames of ray tracing and above 4K ultra settings, which is what they said. And they showed that running on a 20. I mean, I think was it Austin Evans or something along those lines? It showed Gears 5 running on max ultra settings on PC with ray tracing enabled, and it was sitting at like below 60. And like, what they've accomplished on Gears 5 on Series X in the short space of time we cannot be done on PC right now. It cannot be done. And the argument that I've had off the back of that alone, I'm like, no, you don't understand. What is it able to do on PlayStation 5 and Series X right now? The capabilities of those consoles is because of the architecture change. You cannot do that on PC. You can spend a fortune on a PC right now, unless you're getting 3 2080s plugged in with 64 gig of GDDR5 and even a 2 gig SSD. You're not getting close to the capabilities of Series X. You need to really pump thousands and thousands of pounds in to get the same output, and it's pointless. It's pointless. That argument is a no go right now. Even going into next gen, to get the same output, you're still going to have to spend a minimum of $1,500 to get a 500 consoles worth of performance.
Yeah. The performance out of the box on the consoles is no doubt. So, see, you got into it. There's a couple topics off your chest.
What about you, Wayne? What do you got?
What you got? What grinds your gears?
Yeah, what grinds my gears? Gears is a good one, though. That's for sure. I had that debate with someone last week, actually. It's funny you bring that up, that one of the guys we've had on our show, Enrique, was like, Gears 5 on PC, and I showed him. I said the Coalition themselves have shown that Gears 5 on Series X is already running beyond ultra spec, like you just said. They've shown it. It's literally right here in the Unreal developer. And he got quiet real quick. But he obviously didn't realize. He said, "Have you played it on PC?" I said, "But that's not the point. The developer themselves have put, here it is, right? You can argue with the Coalition if you want to. I'm not going to argue with the devs." My rant is really around, can we just let developers finish their games, please? We heard it about Last of Us. Last of Us, we get into, when was it supposed to originally release? February or something? Originally. Then it moved to May, then it moved to June, right? And it was like, we heard about crunch and, turnover, and the game's a disaster, and, it's going to get delayed, and it did get delayed. And all these things, and all we hear is complaints and complaints and complaints. Then the game comes out, and regardless of what you think about it, that game, whether you agree with the Metacritic scores or whatever, it sold millions of copies. It's super popular. Yeah, the production values are incredible. It's a beautiful game. There's a lot of superlatives that can be used for, right? And we covered all that before. But Halo Infinite's the latest, and of course that's what I'm going to rant about. It's just like, it didn't show this ultra spectacular showcase that everyone wanted to see and had expectations for Halo, myself included. But for God's sakes, man, we are several months still from release. The builds from previous, they came out, like Dan said, and acknowledged they still have work to do. Let them finish the damn game, and people stop acting like developers. You're not a developer. Let them work. For God's sakes. They're like, the game doesn't look finished. No shit, it doesn't look finished. You know why? It's not finished. It's not that hard of a concept. Drives me crazy. All right, I'm done. That's the most you're going to get out of me today. All right.
I agree. Apart from there's one thing on that topic.
Go for it.
Game development in general is hindered massively if that game developer is I wouldn't say a PLC company, but has shareholders.
Oh yeah, it can be. Yeah, for sure.
100%. Square Enix is the epitome of games being delayed till the end of time and chopping and changing development processes. They're the worst. Final Fantasy, which we love, thankfully, but Final Fantasy 15 is the worst example for that. That's a 10-year development cycle, and three main developers were working on that game.
Yeah.
And it swapped hands that many times throughout. It started to get diluted a bit. You didn't know who was actually developing for it anymore, who was working on it, who was in charge of it.
Yeah.
But it eventually came out. But it's big game companies like that are the only ones I don't feel sorry for. It's a shareholder-based agreement.
Yeah.
They end up pushing games out well before they're finished because it's not because of fan pushback, but because shareholders need it out, who want it out.
Well, and then you have the executives like we heard of Ubisoft, who was just, the one guy who basically had his own control over whether or not a game released. Like a company that big with that many people working, this one guy who doesn't even sound like a gamer can say, no, I don't like that. He's the one who came out and said that Odyssey, is it Alexandria? What's the Odyssey, the lead character in Odyssey? Dan? The girl. Cassandra.
Yeah.
Cassandra basically said they had to have a guy option because lead females don't sell. Like,
oops.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. But I mean, it's that kind of guy. It's just the corporate piece of game development, it can be very maddening, I think. All right, so we got a lot of games coming out in August. I figure it's August 1st today, and I just took a look for the hell of it this morning, and I didn't realize actually that there's quite a few games coming out before we get into the fall rush. So real quick. Horizon Zero Dawn is coming to PC next week, August 7th. If you have not played Horizon Zero Dawn, or if you don't own a PlayStation 4, play the game. Okay, pick it up on PC. It's an awesome, awesome game, one of our favorite new IPs of the entire generation. And from what we've seen on PC, it's going to be, even better, right? It's already a stunning game on PS4 Pro. So on PC at higher frame rates and higher fidelity, I can only imagine. I kind of want to see it myself. Flight Simulator, speaking of high fidelity games, Flight Simulator, comes out August 18th. And, just looks absolutely incredible. All the preview articles that came out over the past couple days have just said this is a wow moment of the generation. This game is...
Yeah. Digital Foundry posted it and said that is the next generation leap. It is well above and beyond. Yeah.
And it's, because it's a whole nother topic again, but it's all because of the processing power it's using off the cloud. And it's just a fascinating, fascinating game. So that's pretty cool. Right after that, you've got the AAA big budget Battletoads release. August 20th, Battletoads is back. So this does look like a fun game regardless. It's actually very pretty in real life. It looks like a vivid cartoon when you see it. But that's coming August 20th. PGA Tour 2K21 on August 21. Sports title Madden, of course, August 25th. Dan, you buying Madden?
Of course. Yep. I know what to expect.
You're just as bad. You're just as bad.
No, I do it. Yeah.
And then I know you're playing. Go ahead.
I still don't know if it's a button presser. If it's got the button press swing.
Oh yeah, on PGA, we've said the same thing, right? If they don't have the 3-button press, they're not buying it. Tell me why. Dan's most anticipated game of the year, August 27th.
Out.
And and then Wasteland 3. I think a lot of people are, maybe not a lot, but I think Wasteland 3 is being slept on a little bit. Comes out August 28th. And
I've already got that pre-downloaded.
Nice. Yeah, and it was supposed to come out early in the year. But they got more time, more budget, and they've commented several times. Brian Fargo from In Exile has around, just how much better they've been able to make the game with extra time and money, of course, from Xbox Game Studio. So I'm actually looking forward to that one, especially it comes out at a good time too. So comments on those guys, Dutch, any comments on those releases, along with what are you currently up to? What are you currently getting into?
Currently Ghost of Tsushima. I was actually playing Rogue Company for quite a while last night.
Okay.
That's a really fun game. Really, really easy to get into. Specifically, if you like an Overwatch, but more of a first-person shooter kind of esque. Very. It's one of them games, and there's not many of them these days. Where you can just jump in for a quick match, 10-15 minutes, jump back out again if you need to. If you just want a quick game to jump into, but it's really quick, easy. A couple of characters, quite a cheap game. It's like £11 on the store. So nice, easy one to get into. So had about 2-3 hours on there last night. That was really good
nice.
Fun. And then Master Chief Collection, been jumping back into that again recently.
Nice.
I've been playing through Reach on co-op. Surprisingly, I thought I'd completed all of the games, but I haven't. Reach is the last one that I hadn't completed from the Master Chief Collection.
Okay.
So I'm getting that one ironed out before Infinite, and then maybe another playthrough of Halo 5 or Halo 4 or something before it comes through.
Yeah.
For Infinite. Other than that, I am really looking forward to Flight Sim. I've discovered via Digital Foundry's video that Flight Sim is going to work perfectly fine on my computer, so I'm happy with that.
Excellent.
I've just got a GTX 1060, so I'm not the most forward of, but it's I've seen it run on high at near 60 frames, so I am happy.
Yeah,
that'll do me fine. That'll do me fine.
The requirements aren't as crazy as I think people have been led to believe, right? Because of the images and stuff. Of course, you can run it at super high fidelity, but I think that the standard requirements aren't anything nuts.
Yeah. Well, they did mention there. They said that the best to play it on is 1080p upscale to 4K or 1080p upscale to 1440.
Okay.
At high settings, you don't. He said the jump between high and ultra isn't massive.
Okay.
But the jump between medium to high takes away some of the actual realism about it. It starts looking more like a game and less like a photorealistic game.
Okay.
So
Interesting. Yeah.
Said their recommendations to play that game, or at least to play the simulator on high settings, at least high settings, because then it looks more like an actual realistic simulator than it does a game.
Cool. All right. Yeah, I haven't watched that video yet, but I'm all about it.
I can't wait to jump into that. That's another one going back to the very beginning of the podcast, talking about what we were playing and what got us into gaming. Flight Sim is one of them things because my dad worked in the airline industry.
Sure.
Had all of the Flight Sims since day dot, had the force feedback controls, had all of the pedals and everything to go with it. So it's always been fond memories of that. So can't wait.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's really cool to see him bring it back. Yeah, I'm excited for it too. This PC here I actually built earlier this year, so it's actually pretty powerful. Didn't really build it specifically for gaming, but it's still pretty high end and got the ultra wide now, so running 1440p, and yeah, I can't wait to see what that looks like. Dan, did you get your flight controller?
I did. I've got the HOTAS sitting there ready to go. I'm super pumped for it. I got that for basically that. And then I'm going to probably play some more Ace Combat on it. I probably played through half of that game for the PS4, though. But I also have it for that because of the VR. I want to try that out.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Squadrons is coming. So it's going to work on that, too. So I'm pretty pumped for Flight Sim. I want to see how it is. I want to, land on my house. If I can do that, we're going to see how well that is. I mean, we're just like down my street. There's a lot of trees, though, so it might be an issue.
Try and crash into my pond.
Yeah, I'll just come. I'll just do the whole, what is it, the one in the Hudson? What was that guy? I can't remember. Anyway,
Sully.
Sully, you can have your Sully moment.
I've been playing Ghosts again. I played through it once. I'm playing through Kurosawa with the Kurosawa mode on. It's a lot
nice.
Fun. So I wanted to, kind of get that whole experience. Still awesome. Like I said, it's probably my game of the year right now. But I've also been playing Carrion.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, that game, I hate those like 16-bit, little.
Stop it.
This game is awesome. It's so good. It's kind of like a reverse horror game. You get to play as the monster. So, and it's hilarious because like you're running around, with this giant symbiotic blob, and you're reaching out and like grabbing people by the legs and like ripping them in parts and pieces and eating them. And
the more people you eat, the bigger you get.
Yeah.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love it. And I haven't played a game like that I've found that enjoyable for a really, really long time. So I want to finish that this weekend. It's so good.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen a ton of people talking about it. And I downloaded it, but I've been playing. So I've been playing Halo 5 in co-op again to go through it again, which is a stunning game on the One X now with the update they made. I mean, it's gorgeous. So I've been playing that in co-op and playing Halo Combat Evolved for the retrospective. I mentioned that last week. But then Game Pass, man. Yeah, I started playing The Tourist, which we talked about, which was a Switch game. It's just
literally just downloaded that. I haven't played it yet.
It's pretty charming if you like this type of game, of course. It's a small game, but the art style is really cool, and it's just it's one of those games you just sit down and don't have to think too much about. You know what I mean? You can just play it. And I downloaded Neon Abyss based on King's recommendation last week. Neon Abyss is like it's like a shooter roguelike. It reminds me of Rogue Legacy, but with shooter mechanics. Enjoying the hell out of that. And then I have Carrion downloaded too because I've seen so many people talking about it, but I haven't played it yet. But it sounds hilarious.
It's awesome.
Really good.
I don't know if it was supposed to be hilarious, but it's like unintentional.
But, it is. Yeah. Whatever.
Well, I know.
You can just scream at people like running around the place and make them scared, and they're screaming, running away. But then you just grab them and smash them around, and yeah.
I'll have to give it a try.
It's just silly fun, but it's reverse because it's reverse rule. No one's in a reverse rule where you're the monster and you're the one doing all the murdering.
Yeah, so. That's awesome. So Dan, I'll give that the hashtag meaty. I've got to check that out then. I saw I think it was the developer said that, they've sold over 100,000 copies of it, which for a small developer, small game is very exciting. And then they said they've already has several 100,000 people playing it from Game Pass. So it's got to be awesome. We interviewed the guy who did Hyperdot several weeks ago. And, he said that he looked one time and there was like 150,000 people playing it because of Game Pass. And he's just like, that was... you could see like the happiness on his face just knowing he's a single guy made this little game and you've got 150 200,000 people just playing your game. It's pretty cool. So
yeah,
very cool. Well, with that, I think we're going to head on out of here, guys. It's been a lot of fun having you on, Dutch, man. Good to finally get to talk with you. And
you're welcome. Thanks for having us on.
Of course, man. I tell all of our guests we're actually, I don't know, Dan, it seems weird, like we're picky with our guests. We don't just invite anyone on to play, but to talk. I mean,
it's we want quality.
No hashtag Twitter, guys.
Yeah, we don't want Twitter dudes. We don't need that garbage.
Yeah,
keep it out.
Very true. Very true. So no, it's been a pleasure, Dutch. Good to finally kind of talk with you properly about gaming.
Yeah,
won't be the last time. Huge congrats on starting your own podcast, and why don't you give a shout out to everyone on where they can find you and when they can catch the show?
Yeah, certainly. So the show is every Wednesday, as you mentioned. It's 2 p.m. Central. That's 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. GMT, or 9 p.m. Central Europe. That's every Wednesday. It is on the Wondering Dutch YouTube channel. It is called Midweek Mix-Up. It's just started. There's going on to a third episode now, coming up this Wednesday. But I have also done a developer interview with the ID at Xbox game Song of Iron very recently.
I saw that. That game looks awesome, by the way.
Yeah. It's a nice little fun fact. He very alluded to quickly kind of throughout the interview, but he did work on Halo 5.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So he's currently working on not only that, this is, again, props to him, but he's working on his another big AAA title in the background, as well as working on Song of Iron.
Wow.
So he's ultra busy right now. He's in lockdown, so he's got his own setup for doing that, and then a setup behind him for working on the big developer one.
He's a busy guy.
Yeah. I've got straight after this, I'm jumping in doing a community podcast with a guy called Xbox Jesus. So essentially, every 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing an interview with some of the more positive members of the gaming community. So the ones that don't get involved with fanboy rubbish.
Awesome.
People that, regardless of whether or not it be going through difficulties or disabilities or anything like that, people that really just push that aside, battle on through, and spread positivity. So I'm looking to really get suggestions more from the community on who they think deserves to be interviewed for Community Spotlight, and have a little spotlight on them and give them a bit of praise for a change instead of the other way around.
Cool. All right, you guys heard it in chat, and if you catch this show later, reach out to Dutch, find him on Twitter, Wandering Dutch, and I'm sure there's quite a few people that I've talked to because we very positive here and a really good community. And shout out to you guys in chat as always. Love having you guys here every week. And there's I could definitely give you a few names as well. So we'll talk. But there are, as much as we complain about everything we complain about with the hashtag Twitter guys and stuff, there are a lot of good people in the community who do good things and really spread kind of cheer, for lack of a better word, and keep it real. So that's cool. Really enjoyed it. All right, Dan. What do you got? You're on mute, by the way.
You're on mute.
Yep, sure enough. I had somebody walking through. Twitter, D Rodriguez, WDSC of Season Gaming. I just got the Ghost of Tsushima review up on the website. Also have an article that was not approved by N4G. Go fuck yourselves. That was my little. So check it out. It's more of a lighthearted take on the what Xbox and PlayStation are doing and what they have to do to for next generation that I would like to see. It's like you said, it's kind of got my humor, and people apparently don't appreciate that at certain.
No, I think people do. People at N4 don't, but they don't appreciate anything worthwhile.
Just shout out to Chris. That's what I got to say for you. I don't really give a shit anymore. But anyway, I mean, go check it out. It's funny. I wish I would have waited one day now, because the free-to-play Halo stuff launched right after.
Happens anytime you write a piece, man. Trust me.
Yeah, it's just your luck.
Yeah, it is what it is. But it's fun. It was fun to write. That was all that mattered to me. And that's hopefully I'll have a review up next week after we do the Avengers thing. I'm probably going to write an Iron Man VR review. It was one of those games that just it was so fast, and it was kind of it's really, really small. It's gonna be like an eighth as big as my last one. So there's not much to it. But yeah, I mean, check us out, man. Come in on Saturdays. If you're here, enjoy the show. Go check out Dutch's channel. It's growing, man. It's a good time.
Cool. Yeah, good times. Good times. And for the a little bit of context, I was actually going to rant about it, Dan, but I decided not to, because we don't really call out specific outlets or people. But I know you will. But yeah, N4G is a site that is a gaming aggregate site, meaning they take articles from all around the industry and then publish them out. But they are horribly run, incredibly biased, and it's an absolute shit show. I could rant for like an hour about the way they manage things over there. It's disgusting. So anyway, Dan was referring to his article being up, and basically the admin saying, I don't agree with this, and he literally took it off the site because he just didn't agree with it. So it's bizarre, absolute bizarre community over there. So anyway, thanks as always, chat. You've been awesome, Dutch. Good chatting with you, brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you, chat.
Yep, and we will see you next week for episode 117, the 3-hour Halo blowout, right?
Halo special, the Master Chief Edition.
All right, see you next Saturday, guys.